Hello, my name's Expedition Josh, and today you're going to be talking about why you should film yourself travelling. Okie dokie, so I haven't made a vlog like this in a very long time. I'm planning on starting to do them again. A little bit of talking to the camera. I know it's somewhat odd to talk to the camera because there's no one there, but if people watch my videos, technically I'm not speaking to myself. We can only hope. So today we're going to talk about why you should film yourself. I don't mean in the strange and rather unusual ways of filming yourself. I mean like vlogging, that kind of stuff. Or even Instagram stories, which is very exciting. Now, there's lots of negative sides to this. There's a lot of, side effects to filming yourself all the time, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. But there's also lots of good things. As with everything, much like anything in life, too much of it can be a bad thing. And we're going to talk about the good stuff today. So I'm going to go back to a day in China. During my time when I was in China, I think this was my second visit there, and I was in Suzhou, or on the way to Suzhou. And I've got all this footage. I've got hours and hours of footage. And nothing to do with it. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. It hasn't sort of come together and formed a very good narrative. It hasn't got a story behind it I could put it together and make. It's got no use. It's just sitting on my hard drive. But it's really good for this video. It's very good for me to demonstrate some interesting points about filming yourself. So let's go back a little bit. So before I left England for the first time, before I started travelling, I got really heavily into YouTube stars, as you call them. So we'll talk about the greats, like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon. Who else do we have? What's his name? Basically, a lot of travel vloggers. So these people, giving their day-to-day stuff, they're sort of filming the things they do. Obviously, it's not really like the normal day of a normal human being, because no one's life is that exciting. But it sort of set me up for this desire to travel, and I wanted to sort of document the things I was seeing. I wanted to film stuff that I was doing along the way. And so it grew and it grew and it grew. And obviously the biggest influence on me was Casey Neistat. I think I got a little bit too obsessed. I actually have, I don't know if you can see it, let's have a look. This is going to be a difficult thing. No, that's it. On my foot, I actually have a Casey Neistat tattoo. It's one of his catchphrases, and ever since I've got it, I really enjoyed it. And then as I got a bit older, I was like maybe a little bit cringy. I don't really like showing it in public, and so I'm now trying to get it removed. But it's a wonderful memory to a time where I absolutely love this as an art form. It's a very creative practice, and he was one of the biggest inspirations. He still is now. I know he doesn't really make stuff anymore. He doesn't do what he used to, unfortunately. But watching his videos, I used to watch him every single day. I used to watch him upload videos and be somewhat obsessed. I absolutely love the stuff he put out. He had this ability to turn a relatively normal series of events into a cinematic masterpiece. It was a new art form that he created, and this was the big thing about Neistat, which is he took something that was amateurish. He took filming yourself and vlogging about daily life, stuff that usually rather mundane, and he made it exciting. He brought years of experience from a cinematic craft and incorporated it into this and developed his entire new art form. It's almost like you have Kafkaesque, or is it Kafkan is the correct term? I'm not sure. Or you have Tarantino, and he's Tarantino-esque, and they have these words in the dictionary. And I almost feel like Neistat should have something similar based after him. So sort of generate this whole thing as huge craze for YouTube. He's not the only person, but a huge part of that was him. And he was a big inspiration for me before I went travelling. Obviously I'm rather late jumping the gun, he'd been doing stuff for a while at that point. But he got me into this idea that I could film myself on a camera, chatting away while I do the rest of what I was doing. But it's an interesting mentality to get into, right? So when you film yourself, you have a desire to want to make things exciting. So you start thinking, right, if I position the camera a certain way, so if I was to pick up the camera and I'm chatting and I'm really being vocal and using my expressions and I'm going to interesting places, then people are going to watch it, right? So people, oh, let me get this up again. So people are going to watch that. People are going to get into it. So you're wanting things to be exciting, and sometimes more exciting than they are. But that can actually be quite a good thing, because you're going along, you're doing things, and you're willing things to happen. You're looking for new opportunities. So as you go round, you're going, oh, maybe this will be a good shot. Maybe this will be an interesting thing. And you're just pushing into places. And it's almost like you have a really evil buddy, or let's say you have like a little devil on your shoulder, and it's like, psst, 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 do this. It would make a great film. And it kind of pushes you into this unexplored territory of things that you wouldn't usually do. It's a very unusual thing. It's a very psychological thing, so you have the camera there, and it's almost egging you on. You want to get more, and obviously this can lead to people doing rather stupid things for the sake of YouTube, but also on a milder level, that little push through fear and through the boundaries allows you to grow. And for someone like me who was quite shy, having the camera there was forcing me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. So we're going to talk about this wonderful day in Suzhou. Pretty much every day I had in China was a lovely time. Extremely friendly people, people chatting away, people really interested in me. That's kind of the tourist thing, you know. They don't see a lot of people from England, especially in the more rural areas. They may have never met like any tourists before. And as I pushed sort of into the middle of nowhere, they had never met a tourist, never met someone from the Western world. So they're super intrigued, but I think the camera adds to that. So as the days progress and as you go through and you're going around with the camera, people really want to chat away with you. So I'll sort of set the scene. I'm in Suzhou. I can't remember where I was. Sorry, I was in somewhere else, but I can't remember where that was. And basically I was travelling to Suzhou, and then from Suzhou I was going to go to Huangshan, which is where the Yellow Mountain is. It's one of my favourite locations. I made loads of videos on it. If you fancy watching them, they're knocking about somewhere. Most picturesque place I've ever been. But I was on the way to go there, and I was heading to Suzhou. I'd heard a little about it. It's a little place. I don't know what you'd describe it as, like a village, or it's maybe a bit bigger than a village, but it's quite a known place outside Shanghai. So I'm going to take the train there. So on the day, I was quite nervous. I've done film before, and what you find with it is, I remember filming my first video, it was petrifying. So you're sitting in front of a camera, and like now, look, I'm in my room, right? Potentially the neighbours can hear me, I hope they can't, but not really, there's not really any repercussions. No one's going to hear you, you're not worried about what people think, so there's not a problem. But when you actually get out there, and you're in public, you're basically on show for everyone. So you're speaking out loud to a camera, you're walking through a busy town, and people are turning heads constantly. There's a great thing Will Smith talks about, and he talks about how anything he's scared of, any fear, anything that makes him a bit scared, he just goes and does it. And I kind of live by the same principle. And as much as it scares me to film in public, as much as I find it absolutely horrible, it's just something I'm going to have to get used to. So what I've done is I've chosen the busiest street I can find, and I'm just walking down it making a film, and I'm just going to get over that fear, you know? You have this thing, and people are really taking notice. They're turning back and forth, they're really intrigued who you are, and some think, oh, maybe this guy's famous, or what's he filming for, or they're just sort of disturbed by your presence slightly, which is a really interesting dynamic. So when I started out, I mean, I was a very introverted person growing up, and before I went travelling, super shy. I had this big sort of transformation as I went away, but I was really shy. I couldn't speak to people, especially women. Women petrified me. I'd sort of just tremble in their presence. Those wonderful creatures that I couldn't communicate with, and I had this real problem with it. But I was determined that I was going to create stuff with my camera, and I had to kind of explain what I was doing. I had to talk to the camera as much as possible. So as I'm going along, I'm having to interact with the camera and speak to it in public spaces. So I was pushing through, and the fear of talking in public, for example, is meant to be one of the worst fears we could experience. It fills you with dread and anxiety, and you know that you're putting yourself on show to the judgment of others. And to a milder degree, a camera is the same. But I got more and more used to it. But of course, some days, as you're going along, you're not feeling as confident as others, and this is one of those days.
So we've only got 3 minutes until the train leaves the station, but luckily we managed to get here just in time. I ran here from the metro, and hopefully they got some way of me getting a drink on board.
But I was going to film every day. I said to myself before I left, I'm going to film every single day of my travels. Well, until I got to Australia and, you know, spent most of the time on beaches, I kind of forgot about it. But during China especially, every day I was filming a vlog. I wanted to document the experiences I was having, and I wanted to bring people along. I think there's a lot of misconceptions with China, so I wanted to sort of bring my views on it, and obviously there's a lot of tourists that go there, but I wanted to, you know, show people, especially just my family, I wanted to show that it's a wonderful place with really kind people, and as much as there's a lot of bad stuff on the news and there's lots of difficult situations, from the experiences I had and like the local people, they're very hospitable, and I wanted to sort of show my family and my friends what it was like to be there. And also it's a strange destination, people find it interesting, you know. So I'm documenting every day. I'm determined. I'll wake up and I'm not really feeling my best, but I'm going to persevere anyway. So in the videos, what you'll see is I'm just sort of a bit nervous. You can sort of hear my voice. I sort of push it down and sort of like almost mumbling. There's people behind me on an escalator, and it is petrifying.
We managed to make the train with only 5 minutes left, but we managed to get on it, so we actually get there.
But I pushed through, and I feel much better because of it. So as I get onto the train, I'm sort of building a confidence. I've realised that I've managed to push through and do it, and I get more excited. I start getting more into making the video and the day. So we head off on this train journey. All the trains in China are incredibly fast. Amazing systems in China. Nothing like England. You're sort of just darting across at hundreds of kilometres an hour, and you're there before you know it. So all these bullet trains. So I head off on this journey and arrive in Suzhou. So Suzhou, I've never been there before.
We are now arriving at
I'm trying to navigate, everything's in Chinese, and this is another reason why the camera comes in useful. So as I'm going round, I'm filming it. I presume it's probably more of a distraction when I'm trying to look at signs, but as I'm filming and going round, people are taking interest, and as much as I'm sort of giving away the idea that I'm a tourist, and I wouldn't suggest getting your camera out in a more dodgy area as you travel, they might sort of snap you up as like, right, I'm going to go try and sell him something, he's the tourist, you can spot him, right? What I found in, you know, popular places is people realised I was a bit lost, they realised I was filming, they took interest, and they started to chat to me. So instead of me having to be brave when I'm travelling and having to be extroverted and having to go out and sort of portray this confidence in order to have a conversation with someone I'd never met from another country, I was finding that people coming to me to have a conversation purely because of the camera. So as they come along, they sort of come and go, oh, what are you filming? Or, oh, you're on YouTube. Especially the younger lot, they sort of always ask whether I was on YouTube or something. And people take a genuine interest because it's something that is a bit of an unusual thing, a little break from the day. Who's this guy wandering around talking to his camera? And so I met these two girls.
So I have absolutely no idea where I'm going, but these two are apparently going to show me the way. Is that right? No idea.
I have no idea how old they are. I think they were quite young, so they were sort of just hanging around. So I was getting my advice probably from kids, but they seemed to know where they were going. They were really interested in the camera, so I started filming and going along. I think they might have thought that I was a YouTuber. I think back then I had like 10 subscribers. I'm not much more than that now, but yeah, so I hadn't got a lot much going on, but they were obviously interested, and they took a genuine interest in where I was trying to go. So I ended up going with them, and they kind of spoke Chinese to the people that required us to, you know, as we're going along, they would speak to the right people and point me in the right direction, and I ended up taking the bus with them into the centre of town. And I would have probably spent an hour and a half getting completely lost and really struggling to get there. I looked at the bus signs and they were all in Mandarin, all symbols, no way that I can discern what it's saying, no way I can sort of like try and translate it. There was nothing. I was hopeless. So if they hadn't told me, right, this is your stop, I probably wouldn't have got there, or it would have taken me a very long time. So again, I've sort of come in and had an advantage from the camera. And it continues like this, and a camera it's not necessarily a symbol, but it's sort of, it really intrigues people. I think this has been a thing for generations. It's a way for people to connect, and people are really interested in getting photos with you, or they're getting involved with it. It's like, it's because a camera has the ability to capture a moment, and has the ability to be seen by lots of people. There's an element of mystery, of storytelling. People want to be part of the narrative. People want to meet you, and they know that you're a traveller, or they presume you're a traveller. And there's also potential of them interested in getting a little bit of fame. But you're a very intriguing figure just by having the camera. So it becomes almost like a prop in your arsenal, if that makes sense. Much as you'd have a magician that would sort of have a deck of cards and people gather around and they're interested. A camera is much like that in a subtler way. And I've got my camera and I have it on a tripod with the microphone, and it's an interesting bit of kit, right? It's this alien sort of War of the Worlds looking thing. And you're going around with this camera and people want to approach you, and it just happens time and time again. Even in the space of one day, I've got people approaching me for it. So I've got to remind myself what I did on that day, just bit by bit. So after that, I arrive at the hostel, right? So I'm in the hostel in Susho, and there's a really friendly woman behind the desk, and she's super into the camera, and almost, sometimes it's hard to tell whether they're interested in the camera or not, but afterwards I sort of found out she's really friendly. But straight away, she was far more interested. The fact I had a camera, we were chatting away, she's like, oh, where are you from? Getting an idea of my travels. And we seemed to have a much better conversation. I was watching a couple that was going ahead before me, and they sort of went through the routine stuff, and they sort of talked about getting their room and where they want to stay. They weren't really engaging with her like I imagine, lots of travellers would, and obviously as I got into Australia, I was a lot more confident and I could have these kind of conversations. They lacked that engagement, and some people do. They sort of just get in, they're tired, a big backpack on their back, and they don't want that. So occasionally they can miss out on opportunities because of that. But having the camera, even though I'm tired, a bit grouchy, and I've just arrived, the camera sort of forces conversation, because the person that owns the hostel or is working there is super interested in who I am. They want to know where I've been travelling from, so they're pushing and they're asking questions and they're getting me to start talking. And then once the conversation flows, we get into all sorts of interesting topics. And I would never have that opportunity if the camera wasn't there. As a shy person, it was sort of like this gateway into having conversation that I'd never been able to have before. I'd never had people approach me asking questions. So I had this really nice conversation with the woman. It turns out she runs the hostel. She loves my story, and she's like, right, I'm going to upgrade your room. Right, so I get upgraded my room. I was in a 36 bed, right? It was packed, right? So it was 4 beds on each other, tiers after tiers. It's the cheapest thing you can have. There's ladders that go up. It's like you slide in the bed like a salmon. You just sort of like slide in like this, and you're slotted in. And she went from that, and she upgraded me to a 4 bed.
So I've made it to my room. I'm number 3. This is my bed. I might go straight to sleep, to be honest. We'll see.
Right, so there's only 4 in there, and I have one of them. So it was a huge change, and obviously I'd been in these basically compact, tiny little capsule beds for so long that it made a wonderful difference. And again, just because the camera was there. I mean, I'm presuming, of course, but it was why the conversation started. So there's a lot of things like this where having this camera is forcing the conversation, so it's a great thing. So I then went to bed, which a camera is not very useful for. I actually used to cuddle my camera in bed. I was extremely paranoid about it getting broken, or lost, or stolen, or I don't know, anything else. I was very paranoid about it. It was like my little baby. So I used to sleep with it, and I had this thing that if someone was trying to steal it from me, if it's in my arms, it's probably the least likely place for them to be able to take it. So I sort of just huddle in, and if I was having a lonely night while travelling, it's nice to have something to hold on to. So I had my camera like this, and I went to bed. And I woke up in this hostel. I went in and cleaned my clothes. I cleaned them in a sink, so I'm cleaning away, scrubbing away, and I want to film again. And it's funny when you start filming, because your day, which could be really boring, you're trying to sort of make it exciting. So you're doing things you wouldn't usually do, and you're sometimes spending a lot longer on stuff that you don't need to do. But that's the kind of the fun part. So you have this sort of thing to keep you entertained through the day, and sometimes when you're travelling it can get quite lonely and you don't have this opportunity to keep your mind occupied. But when you have a camera, that happens all the time. So I'm setting up the camera by the sink, looking out the door, there's me walking past, and I've got me going down the stairs, like various shots of me going down the stairs, me sitting at the breakfast table, got my porridge, and I'm sitting and eating my porridge. And it's just me filming as I go. People are sort of chuckling away that I've seen they've seen I'm filming, and I stop and I turn around and there's this big table of Americans and we have this big conversation, and they're like, oh, what are you filming for? And again, I'm just having more and more conversations, more and more experiences, all because of the camera. So it's a really wonderful thing. So after I sort of set out from the hostel, I headed to a temple. So I'm heading to this, I can't remember, it was a very old Chinese temple. There's a lot of temples in China, don't get me wrong. So it's a very old temple. It's sort of like very familiar characteristic of these tall towers that go up. And I only really wanted to go there because I thought it'd be an interesting place to go, and I was kind of tired, a bit jet lagged, but I was determined, right, I've got to film my day, it's going to be an interesting day. So it's making me get out of the hostel and do things. And then I get to the temple, I'm going along and I'm filming, and people are, again, super interested, crowding round, and there's this guy, and he just walks back and forth, and he just sort of wants to be in the video.
Something I notice in China more than anywhere else, you know, you look at somewhere like London where I can walk through the camera, even though it's sort of, you know, it's quite nerve-wracking, it's quite embarrassing. At the same time, a lot of people leave you alone, they sort of just ignore you, like it's quite a normal thing. Whereas here in China, as I'm going around the camera, it attracts a lot of interest. Like this, exactly. So you get a lot of people that really want to know what you're doing, and you get a lot of people that are interested in like what I'm making videos about, which I quite like, so it gives me an opportunity to talk to lots of people.
It's a wonderful experience, and you're sort of watching how what you'd imagine, you sort of see someone as very mundane, and you don't realise that they have all their own life and things going on in their mind, and they're sort of just walking past, especially in China where it's so populated, and they're sort of flitting past each other, and they're going along and they're like, oh, there's a camera, they just want to be in the shot. So watching people interact, that's really, really funny. And so, what happened next? God, it's terrible, my memory is an awful thing. So obviously I'm meeting people on the way, which is great, but also there's a lot of times when, especially when you're travelling solo, where you do get this lonely aspect. It's not like a bad thing, but you sometimes just feel like you really want interaction, like you want human interaction, and you can't always get it. You can get it at the hostels, but when you're out and about and you're in a country where they don't speak your language, it can be very difficult, and people don't always respond to the same thing. So you can go ni hao, like you can go try and say hello, or you can try and be, you know, polite any way you can. You go like, I think it's Qing Wen, which is like excuse me, this kind of thing. And actually you find that a lot of people just bank you, they're not really interested. But during the day when you have these sort of things you face, and it's a normal thing, in any country you go to, some people aren't interested. Not only does the camera help with that, in the respect of people being more willing to have a conversation with you, it also reduces this lonely factor, because you're having conversation, and although you're talking to yourself, basically, you're imagining people on the other end of it, and you've kind of got this person to talk to, like an imaginary friend. There's something really therapeutic to talking to the camera.
I'm not even going to pretend I'm eating local food today.
So as you're going round, you're chatting to it, you're talking away, and you're having this kind of really nice experience where you're looking at your day, you don't feel that lonely, you feel quite like you've got things going on, you're quite busy in mind that keeps you occupied, and you have this way to express your feelings and share it with other people, even though there's not anyone there. So that was a real highlight, and a lot of the times in Suzhou, as I'm wandering around, So like, there's not many people to talk to, especially the temple. It's very quiet. There's not anyone around, and so it's very relaxing. I can chat to my camera and feel good after that. So after that, I didn't do a great deal. I went to wander around. It started to rain, so I switched to my GoPro, and I'm sort of going around with this GoPro, and I put it on my head, and I'm wandering around, and people are looking at me like, well, who is this guy? But I continued to film, and I continued to want to do things, and what you find is, with anything, when the camera's involved, you're not willing to go back to the hospital early, right? So you're not willing to go back and just go to bed, because you're determined to finish this vlog, you're determined to sort of get some content out that really interests you. And so you're just, right, I'm going to go back out, just in case. And although this can get tiring over time, because you realise that you do have to rest sometimes, it's quite a good way of motivating you to go out. And I headed out, I went to a burger restaurant. I wasn't thinking about heading out because it was pouring with rain, but I was like, look, I want to finish this vlog and sort of, you know, have a bit of an arc where it's sort of day to night. So I went out anyway with my big jacket.
Bye. Oh, that's actually quite good. I was kind of worried about food for a while, but I think it's good. I feel fine. No, it's good. Apparently they have got pink burgers in there, like, not like raw, but like the buns are pink, which is weird. I had a black burger with a black bun. I think it was black garlic. I think that's how they did it. Not really sure.
And I found this random burger restaurant right in the corner, in the middle of nowhere, and I go in there. It's got all these cool paintings and stuff, all the walls got wall art, and I'm sitting there and I have a black burger, so the bun is black, and then they bring me out a pink one, so a bright pink bun. Very strange experience, and something that I would never have if it wasn't for the camera. So I'm kind of giving you an idea of a typical day in China, but I'm also giving you an idea of why you should try to film yourself. If you haven't thought of giving it a try, don't worry about getting an expensive camera. Don't worry about having loads of gear. It really doesn't matter. Phones now have amazing cameras, so get your phone out and head out vlogging just for a day, because what you'll find is, if you take a day, like let's say you're just going somewhere, I would recommend going somewhere. You can do stuff like around your house. But let's just say, right, I'm going to go to London, or I'm going to go out for the day for walking, or whatever it may be, and especially when you're abroad, just try and film for a day. You'll find it scary, you'll find it nerve-wracking, you'll have some anxiety about speaking in front of people, you'll feel stupid because you're like, I don't want to speak, but once you get over that little hurdle, there's so many wonderful benefits to it. You're really going to enjoy it. You're going to find yourself looking for opportunities that you never knew existed, and I really think you're going to have a good time. So I hope this has been helpful. Next week we're going to talk about some of the bad sides, which tend to happen later on when you sort of film too much, which is the stage I got to, where I got very obsessed. But yeah, we will catch up next week for that, and hopefully I'm going to be hearing some stories of people grabbing the camera and telling me about it. Whether we have more than 3 views this video, I'm not sure, but if you do try and film anything, drop a comment below, let me know what's going on. If you like to subscribe, I've got videos out every week now, and it'd be great for people to join along. Next year I'm doing heaps of different things. I'm going off on some crazy walks across England, and maybe even to Turkey, so I'd love to have you along for the journey. And I hope you have a lovely time, whether you're stuck in England with COVID, you're stuck at home because of the lockdown, or you're out travelling, or whatever you may be doing. I hope you have a lovely time and enjoy travelling.